And I was like, I have to do something different. But what do I do at 36 years old without trying to go back to school and do it all over again? I found a boot camp online. Took that. That was Course Careers. Didn't love it. Didn't hate it. Got me started, but I just felt there was a lot that could have been done differently from that. And then I came across your YouTube videos and said, hey, maybe there's something different. And I dug into that, and that's kind of what led me to higher levels.
Hey everyone, really excited to speak with Arthur this week. Awesome background, many things to kind of break down here, Arthur, and obviously very excited for you landing the job that you did. Maybe to set the stage for our conversation, just paint the picture of where you were at before transitioning to tech sales, and we'll start to break it down from there.
Yeah, I'd love to. So prior to tech sales, I had a long career in the field of disabilities. I spent 8 years working with people with disabilities. That field kind of burnt me out, and I was landing back in jewelry sales, which is something I'd done back in college. And then COVID came through, and everything changed, and I needed an essential job. So I ended up in a warehouse, loading trucks at night because it paid better than during the day. And I realized that it was hard on my body. It was very, very isolated, and that's not how I operate. And I was like, I have to do something different. But what do I do at 36 years old without trying to go back to school and do it all over again? So I found a boot camp online. Took that. That was Course Careers. Didn't love it. Didn't hate it. Got me started, but I just felt there was a lot that could have been done differently from that. And then I came across your YouTube videos and said, hey, maybe there's something different. And I dug into that, and that's kind of what led me to higher levels.
Sure. And I know, probably throughout this transition period, I'm sure there's multiple things you tried along the way alongside something like Course Careers. Had you started applying to jobs and, had already been rejected before then looking at higher levels? I'm just kind of curious the progression from your side.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, that's where I feel like there's a gap between Course Careers and higher levels. I did have an interview experience. I had one interview experience, and I genuinely believe they took that interview simply because I had the name Course Careers on my LinkedIn. Because they have other students that had gone through and been successful, or they hired or whatever. And I got to the interview, and it was not at all what I expected. I didn't feel ready. I had this rose-colored glasses on when I got into the interview, saying, hey, I've taken this course, I'm going to nail it, no problem. And I got to it, and the interview was a completely different experience. I felt underprepared. I was kind of shocked, taken aback that I didn't even advance past the first interview at all. And that just kind of made me take a big step back and say, well, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. Maybe this isn't the right fit for me at all. And I took 6 months off, while my wife and I, we pursued other things. We had a family working on building, and I just said, okay, this is not for me. I'll focus on what my wife needs and not what I need. And then 6 months later, I found myself in the same boat. And then I circled back, and that's how I came back to higher levels.
Nice. Obviously, very happy you came back to it and that you joined us. But I guess even taking a step back again. So when things weren't really sticking with Course Careers, I imagine you were looking for a specific set of criteria that you were looking for. Was there anything specific that you needed to see from a program before committing to it? Or what was it about higher levels that made you say, hey, I feel confident about this despite perhaps being burnt by another program or whatever else, or Course Careers? Just curious.
Absolutely. I was going through your case studies, honestly, because I feel like that's, a testament to how successful a program is or is not. And we were just talking about it was Jacob, I believe was his name, that you guys had interviewed. And I exactly I went through that case study, and I was listening to it, and he was just hitting every nail on the head of exactly what I was like, that could have been better. That's missing that. I think he used the term like a softball pitch. The practice exercises just felt like it was T-ball. Set the ball there and you're going to crush it, and it wasn't like that at all. And it was because of that interview that it sparked this. Oh, there's coaching. There's communication. I have access to Chris. I have access to Eric. I have access to Ryan. And I don't have to pass a test and put extra anxiety and pressure on myself to pass this test to get this certificate in order to have this access. I just had that from day one, which I think was really great. So that was the main thing. It was that case study in particular that hit that light bulb that said, this is exactly what I need. I actually went to my wife and was like, hey, so I know I did one, but I'd like to do another one, and here's why. But that's another conversation.
No, I love it. And we're obviously super stoked that you joined Higher Levels, and, you know, credit to you as well. Obviously we give you the framework, we give you the recipe, but at the end of the day, like it's on the student to actually put it together, to go out there and to execute. And you did that very, very well. So I guess I'm curious too, like having gone through the program, having gone through both course groups, both Higher Levels, on the other side of it all, like, was there any specific segment of Higher Levels where you felt like, wow, this was super, super helpful? Obviously you mentioned the live coaching, having access to us. But was there anything from a content perspective where you felt like, wow, this really like just made sense, or this was what brought me success ultimately in the end?
Well, I think if we're talking about a specific aspect of the course, had to be the cold call section, the cold call framework, and running through the cold calls. That is where I definitely stumbled in my interviews with Course Careers, and I had noticed that, you know, if you watch the recording, some of them re-recorded to kind of just make sure it lined up and it worked out, which is not at all how real life is on the phone, in an exercise or in an interview. And so having that extra cold call content really helped solidify in my mind, okay, I can do this. All right. And I took that information, practiced it with my dad, who's been an IT manager for 15 years, practiced it with my sister, who's in marketing, you know, who's someone we'd probably be prospecting. So I was able to take that information and do it over and over and over again. But I think generally speaking too, the thing I really appreciate about all sections of the course is that you always try to include different viewpoints. So it wasn't just, this is how Eric does it. And it wasn't just, this is how Chris does it, but this is how Eric does it. This is how you get different points of references, different points of view, so that, you know, I think what I've been learning in my onboarding, and I think what you could get from this course too, is that you can take these different viewpoints, different sections, kind of put it together, make it your own, make it unique to yourself, and then apply that. And I think that is another difference, a different gap that like Course Careers didn't have. It was just, here you go, this is it. And that's all you get, versus I have the perspective of multiple professionals who are doing it currently, and I can take that and go, that's how they're doing it. Let me think about it this way, and let me put my own little spin on it so that I feel really comfortable doing this in front of an interview.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, you know, I'd love to, for someone watching as well, that's, you know, whether they're looking for training or not, just trying to understand more about the interview process. Obviously, we don't have to relive the pain in depth of that first interview experience. But with the job that you landed, I'd love you to maybe highlight some key takeaways, you know, 2 to 3 things that you really learned along the way and did different that ultimately did make you stand out and get the job offer that you got.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was, I think you speak to it a lot in your YouTube videos. It's being willing to do the work and preparing. And if you think you're prepared enough, you probably haven't. Prepare some more. And I think when I did that first interview, I just thought I taken this course. I've gone through this section. I've probably run through it, watched some YouTube videos of some other gurus, you know, and I got this. This is fine. I'll be fine. And that's where I wasn't prepared. And this time, when I had that opportunity for an interview, my recruiter I worked with said, "You've calmed down. You've prepared." And I said, no, I haven't. Like I can't stop. And so that is why I had, you know, mock interviews with my father, mock interviews with my sister, mock interviews with my recruiter's partner, and then just walking around, pacing around this house so much and repeating everything I could think of over and over until it just became like automatic, so that when I got to that, it wasn't a question of, I hope I'm ready for this. It was when I went through it, they eventually they basically said, okay, we don't really need to review that. Like you got it on your first take. I don't think we have anything we can improve on right now. And that just kind of pushed me to the next. So going from basically saying that was horrible is how it felt in the first, I'll say it. And then taking that and then going from that to, hey, wow, you did such a great job. I don't think we need to tweak anything or talk about this. And that was just, Man, that was incredible. It felt so good.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And I think, yeah, some things you had already mentioned too. It's like taking what's out there and making it your own style. And I think, yeah, that's the thing. Practicing it so much that, you don't know the answer per se, but I think the way to think about it is like you were ready for any situation because you had prepared so much, which is so important in sales because there is no one way. Otherwise, everyone would be doing it. So that's awesome to hear, man. And from the time you joined, just for everyone's perspective, when you joined higher levels to when you ultimately got your offer, what was that kind of time frame and whole process like?
Yeah, the time frame overall was 4 months, which I believe your guys' average is like 3. And some people have cranked it out super fast. But again, what I was thinking about in contrast to the course careers, it wasn't like if I get this, then I have X amount of time, it's gonna happen, it's gonna fall into my lap. I said it's gonna happen when it's gonna happen because just like I'll do in this job, I faced a lot of rejection. I faced a lot of no responses. I put in 25 applications, which, coworkers of my former job thought that was just a crazy high amount. And I kept telling myself it's not enough. I need to do more. But every time I got any information back that, hey, I'm not the decision maker, talk to so and so, that was encouraging, which means, hey, I have information to move to the next step. I got excited about the process of at least getting some context, a little nugget, to take and use and move forward and advance the whole process. So that's kind of what I focused on instead of I have to get into this job within 1 month, 2 months, 3. It happened in 4. And to be honest, I wasn't really expecting that either. I thought I was going to take a little bit longer to find a job just because of the way it worked out. But through Joey and this network, this community, I was able to take his information that he got, fortunate enough to have and got in contact with that recruiter. So going from 25 interviews and doing the right stuff and just being excited about the process to being interviewed and being one of 2 candidates out of apparently a number of candidates they interviewed, and they were really impressed with both Joey and I. So going from that whole process to actually landing a job is how it ended up.
No, I love it. I love it. And I think that's there is this presumptuous assumption where people think, oh, I'm just going to go into this and maybe I'll buy a boot camp and it'll be like the easiest thing in the world because the boot camp is going to take me there. Or even worse, like the boot camp is going to give me, jobs on a silver platter, which I just accept. Like I think a lot of people go into it with that mindset, but in reality, I think on the other side of it all, like people end up with significant self-development because like I think halfway through people realize, oh snap, like I actually have to go through a lot of these unfortunate situations. Like some of them are very painful. We've been through them ourselves. Both me and Eric, we actually go through it all the time, even in our jobs. But the cool part about it is you rarely learn when you just have when you're on like a pink cloud, when everything is perfect. You don't really go through any introspection or anything else because it's like, that's great. I'm just following a step-by-step framework. If you were successful on the very first try, cool. But you wouldn't necessarily have learned too much, right? And so you got to have those really unfortunate, like shitty situations where you feel like complete ass, excuse me. But that being said, again, I am super stoked that you just like carried through with it. It takes a lot of like courage, and I think just like you have to kind of like sit in it a little bit. So I do kind of like credit you a lot for that. I guess like looking back at it, was there a specific segment of cold calling that was messing you up, particularly more, given that this was like the most valuable part of the entire course? Was there a specific part of the cold call, or was it just like the entire structure that was sort of just foreign to you?
I think no, I think your format was similar, but again, I was able to get different perspectives and kind of blend it and make it my own instead of I think there was like a single slide in course careers that said, hey, here's cold call, try it. And then their role play again was just teed up, nailed. Of course, yes, I'd love to take a meeting. That sounds wonderful, which is not how it works. You have to, again, learning this in onboarding more, you have to like probe for pain. You have to ask questions. You have to be inquisitive. And again, the company that I was applying with, it was, I feel like a little bit more of an aggressive style of just get on the phone. Hey, we're noticing this. Is that the case for you? Yes or no? And if so, how about a meeting? And the framework that you gave, allowed me to kind of, again, think about it from different points of view. There's a little bit more pain probing instead of just, hey, do you have a problem? We can fix it. you know, so, and just having that information and kind of refreshing it. And I think also, Eric, you do this really well on the YouTubes, cutting through the noise of, hey, there's this guru and that guru and that guru. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're great, maybe they're not, but just focusing on what you guys had, I didn't have to think about, well, if I use this specific intro and this specific opener, and then that's gonna be my magic bullet to make sure people want to talk to me, right? It's just the framework that you gave allowed me to get creative with it, own my own thing, and then just practice the crap out of it, so it felt natural when I delivered it.
Nice. I love that. And obviously, having gone through it now, I love your background. It takes a lot of courage to make a change, to jump into something brand new. So I love that you chose us. I love that you committed to the process, even after going through like some really shitty experiences, quite frankly, and still ended up on top. So that's freaking awesome. I guess like looking back at it now, do you have any tips for folks out there who maybe are going through the exact same thing as you, maybe are considering tech sales ascension, another boot camp, whatever else, or any sort of like tips for your younger self that you would sort of leave yourself with here?
Right? I mean, it keeps coming back to just like, don't wait. Don't take the time to deliver it. I sometimes have analysis by paralysis. Paralysis by analysis. See, I just did it right there. But just overthinking things has been my whole life. And so after that whole interview experience, I was just like, let me just take a whole different direction and try something complete. It didn't work out. I lost 6 months. I could probably be, much further advanced in my career. I could have made a whole lot more money. If anybody's on the fence about this boot camp, just take it. Invest in yourself. I mean, the investment you put up front, no matter what you do, no matter how much you're going to spend, it's going to far out, be outweighed by the life-changing income that you get from it. And I don't mean to sound super corny, but like my wife and I just had a kid 6 weeks ago, and I got a new career the month after my daughter was born, and life-changing is the only way I can describe it. So it's all these things in my head going, my life is going to be so different now, especially if I really crush when I get in there. And I've got this whole path laid out of career progression. Everything's going to be different. So if anybody's like, well, I don't know because I'm a little older, or I don't know because I'm inexperienced, or just take a shot. It's, invest in yourself. If it doesn't work out, keep trying. Like you don't know until you try.
No, I love that. Yeah, Arthur, this has been a pleasure, and I love your story. I love your persistence, your perseverance, and everything that comes with it. We're gonna drop your LinkedIn here underneath, and so if anybody wants to pick Arthur's brain, Arthur is awesome, and it's funny, all the folks inside of the community always talked about like how great you were, like how positive you were, and so I think that that really speaks volumes, right? I have no doubt in my mind. I mean, kudos to you. You landed at one of the best sales enablement software platforms in the world, if not the best. So I think you're well set up for success. I have no doubt you're gonna absolutely crush it there, become a top performer, all the good stuff that comes with it. But yeah, Arthur, we appreciate the time. Eric, I don't know if you have any famous last words, but this has been awesome.
Yeah, it is a great call. And yeah, Arthur, appreciate it and very excited to see where it takes you. So.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, guys.